It was a quiet Tuesday morning when Marcus Harper walked into the First State Bank on Maple Street. He was a man in his mid-40s, tall with broad shoulders, and carried himself with an air of calm confidence. His dark brown suit fit him perfectly, its fabric smooth against his skin. The kind of suit you'd wear for important meetings or moments that mattered deeply. Today was one of those days. Marcus had been saving up for years to buy the small bookstore downtown. It wasn't just any store. It was where he used to spend hours as a teenager, losing himself in stories that shaped his worldview. Now, after years of hard work, he finally had enough saved to make the dream a reality. All he needed was approval from the bank manager to secure the final loan. The lobby buzzed softly with activity. A few people stood at the counter, while others sat waiting patiently. Marcus approached the reception desk, his steps steady, but his heart pounding like a drum inside his chest. "Good morning," he said warmly, leaning forward slightly. "I'd like to speak with Mr. Thompson about a business loan." The young clerk behind the desk glanced up briefly before typing something into his computer. "Name?" he asked without looking up. "Marcus Harper." "Please have a seat," the clerk replied, not bothering to meet Marcus's eyes again. Marcus nodded and took a spot near the far corner of the room. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through emails, trying to keep his mind off the wait. But time seemed to stretch endlessly. Minutes turned into half an hour, then an hour. By the time 2 hours passed, Marcus felt frustration bubbling beneath the surface. He stood up abruptly, crossing over to the reception desk once more. "Excuse me," he began, his voice firm but polite. "I've been waiting here for over 2 hours now. Could you please let me know what's going on?" The clerk looked startled but quickly composed himself. "Mr. Thompson is busy right now. As soon as he's available, someone will call your name." Something inside Marcus snapped. Not because of anger, but because of disappointment. Disappointment in how easily respect could be denied based on assumptions no one dared to voice aloud. Still, he forced himself to sit back down, reminding himself why he was there. This wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about achieving his lifelong goal. Just as Marcus settled back into his chair, the door leading to the manager's office swung open. 3 men walked out, all dressed in expensive suits, their faces glowing with satisfaction. They were board members of the bank, men whose decisions influenced countless lives. One of them noticed Marcus sitting there and gave him a curious look. A moment later, the same receptionist who had ignored Marcus earlier leaned toward the glass window separating the lobby from the inner offices. "Mr. Harper?" he called out hesitantly. Marcus rose slowly, brushing invisible dust from his jacket. "That's me," he said, walking toward the desk. "Mr. Thompson will see you now." As Marcus entered the manager's office, he saw Mr. Thompson standing by the window, gazing out at the bustling street below. The man turned around as Marcus approached, offering a hand. "Mr. Harper, thank you for waiting. Please, take a seat." Marcus shook the offered hand, feeling the warmth but noticing the lingering hesitation in the other man's gaze. "No problem," Marcus replied, choosing his words carefully. "I understand you're a busy man." Thompson gestured toward the chairs facing his desk. Once seated, he opened a folder on his desk and scanned its contents. "So tell me about this bookstore project you mentioned." For the next 20 minutes, Marcus explained his vision, the history of the place, the community it served, and how he planned to modernize it while keeping its charm intact. He spoke passionately, his voice carrying conviction. When he finished, Thompson leaned back in his chair, stroking his chin thoughtfully. "This sounds promising," Thompson admitted, "but we need to consider risk factors. Your credit score is solid, but starting a business always carries uncertainty." Marcus nodded, expecting this part of the conversation. "I get that. But I've done my research. There's demand for independent bookstores again, especially ones focused on local authors and events. Plus, I've already secured partnerships with nearby schools and libraries." Thompson tapped his pen against the desk, clearly weighing his options. Then, unexpectedly, one of the board members stepped into the room unannounced. It was the same man who had glanced at Marcus earlier. "Ah, Mr. Thompson," the newcomer said, his tone friendly yet authoritative. "How's our meeting going?" Thompson straightened immediately, his demeanor shifting from casual to formal. "We're discussing Mr. Harper's proposal. He wants to purchase the old bookstore downtown." The board member turned his attention fully onto Marcus, studying him closely. For a brief second, Marcus felt exposed, like every detail of his life was being dissected under scrutiny. But instead of backing down, he met the man's gaze squarely. Well, the board member said finally, breaking the silence. "You seem like someone who knows exactly what they want." Before Marcus could respond, the board member continued, "Let's approve it. Full amount requested." Both Marcus and Thompson froze. Thompson stammered, "Sir, are you sure? We haven't reviewed all the documents thoroughly yet." "I trust my instincts," the board member replied firmly. "And right now my instinct tells me this man deserves a chance." Marcus blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. "Thank you," he managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you down." After signing the necessary papers, Marcus left the bank feeling lighter than he had in years. Walking home, he replayed the day's events in his mind, wondering what had changed so drastically. Was it luck? Timing? Or maybe, just maybe, it was proof that perseverance pays off even when things seem unfair. Years later, as Marcus stood behind the counter of his thriving bookstore, welcoming customers with smiles, he often thought about that day. About the long wait, the doubt, and the unexpected twist that changed everything. Life, he realized, was full of surprises. Some painful, some beautiful. What mattered most was how you responded to them. "You can't control every outcome," he would tell aspiring entrepreneurs during speaking engagements. "But you can control your effort, your attitude, and your belief in yourself. That's all anyone can ask for." That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. If you'd like to show some extra love, tap the 3 dots near the share button and send a super thanks.